God, look what's in the hand of Ortiz.
Is that an axe?
It's an axe. Oh, my God.
Let me talk to you.
Total Nonstop Impact. This is Impact Wrestling Talk for Impact Wrestling fans.
Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Taxman?
Oh, just keeping it real, as the kids say.
Oh yeah, just like the homies, Chef and the gang, keeping it real, keeping it gangsta.
Yeah, well,
Shot caller up in here.
you know what? I spent so much time with you and Trent. I think some of that bodega vibe wore off on me or whatever.
Shot caller up in here.
So what are you up to right now? You busy?
No, I'm good right now. Actually, kids are sleeping and my wife's sleeping too. So there you go.
I know this is kind of rude and out of the blue, but how do you feel about doing a little Impact review of last week's show right here on the fly? That's how I'm doing things, just rushing you with a microphone.
Well, I've never been one to shy away from running my big fat mouth, so I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Oh shit! Hey, folks, it actually worked out. I was just on the other side of this. I did my intro. I was about to start the review, and I was thinking, I can't do this alone. I'm not built for that. I can't do it. I need a co-host. Went on to Skype. You happen to be the lucky man in the moment.
Well, it's possibly lucky or unlucky. I guess you'll find out within the first 10 minutes or so. Or if you get about 0 views on this one, man, that was a terrible idea bringing Taxman on. Jesus Christ.
Oh, shit. Well, before we get into the review here, what's new with you, man? Any new stuff going on with your project? I'm acting stupid, but I did see your announcement. Can we talk about that a little bit quick?
Yeah, so you can feign ignorance on this one, and I'll just give the lowdown. So earlier this week, or I guess it can't be earlier this week because yesterday was Sunday. Last week, I had come up with the news that I'll be debuting a brand new show through the Six Sided Podcast. I'm going to be taking a look at past superstars from Impact's, obviously different generations. So you would have the NWA TNA era, the TNA Impact era, the GFW Impact era. So everything essentially 2017 and older. I'll be going throughout the history of Impact, kind of picking some talking points, very specific things, right? So it could be something like, I don't want to give too much away of the show, but it could be something very specific like a segment that revolutionized something, or a title run that changed everything, or maybe the length of a title run, or somebody coming into the company that totally changed the dynamic of everything. So
I know there's a Billy Corgan episode coming. I know that's coming.
I thought you were feigning ignorance here, bro.
No, that's just an assumption. You're talking after 2017, things like that. That's an episode that has to be done. And let me volunteer myself. If you want to do one strictly about Decay, I would love to guest host on that. I could talk about Decay for hours.
So I will say on that subject that these are going to be real quick, like 3 to 5 minutes a piece, like real quick bullet points. And
okay.
So it's like I'm trying to do something far different than what I've normally done, which is ramble on for an hour and try and bore whoever's listening to me. This one's going to be about, like I said, 3 to 5 minutes, just the bullet points and something that maybe you totally forgot, or maybe you'd be like, oh shit, I remember when that happened, or I was watching this when that happened. You know what I mean? Just something to draw the people who used to watch TNA, bring them back, and then people who are recent viewers, kind of giving them a piece of history to maybe go back and throw in their GWN machine and kind of hit the rewind a little bit.
You know what? It's funny you say that about bringing back old TNA fans, and this kind of pushes us in a different direction, but it's just something that I've been thinking about lately. Would you agree or disagree with this statement here? I feel like when Jarrett came in last summer, what they were doing, it was like they were trying to bring back old TNA fans and resurrect the good old TNA, like recreate Spike at its peak. That's what I get from that regime. But with Callis and D'Amore, I get this idea of something completely new. They're building something completely different, and I think that's the direction you need to go in. Do you agree with me on that?
I do, and I have a follow-up question for you on that point, but I agree that when Jarrett came in, it was like even I don't know if you remember the very with what was it? Dutch Mantel comes out and he does that big promo. Bruce Pritchard's there. He does that big long promo. Like,
they did
we're
say
gonna go
TNA
back to
is dead. You're right. There was an emphasis in one of the lines from Pritchard. I think he said TNA is dead.
Yeah, and even the one that shoot, I can't think of the name. Dutch Mantel did was
Make Impact great. He was doing the Donald Trump slogan.
Yeah, and then he was doing, you know, I was backstage for all of this stuff, right? But they were alluding to TNA is dead, but they were kind of making you like go back in time, like, oh, remember all of this? Well, this is where we're gonna go. So to me, it was kind of a mixed message, right? How can you be killing off a company when you're essentially trying to bring in a rehash of said company? That was kind of my vibe. So it's funny you mention, you know, when Jared
I gotta tell you, bro. I'll tell you till I'm blue in the face, bro. You can't have a rehash of TNA without Uncle Vince himself, bro.
I still feel like that, and it's funny because I was reading articles about Jarrett and Mr. Bro himself were they're talking numbers and whatever, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, what is going on here, you know? So in terms of that, I totally agree with you. Now I forget the second part of the question. Jesus Christ. This is going to be a fantastic program.
Folks.
This might be the top 10 worst program you ever run, but
that's the thing, man. Trainwreck podcasting. You know, I'm all about it. You know, it's Impact talk for Impact fans. We're just going to go off on those tangents.
It's not Trainwreck. It's Crash podcasting, bro.
Bro, it's Crash style podcasting, bro.
We gotta hit him with the swerve, bro.
That's what it's about, man. You know, they started this show. They had no idea you were gonna be on it. What else is gonna happen? I have no idea. Are police gonna kick down my door and arrest me live here on the show? I don't know. Unpredictable. Swerve after swerve.
I'm all for it. I'm very much looking towards the next swerve of the program, but you caught me so off guard with the first one. Jesus, I need a drink.
I caught you off guard with the phone call. I don't even know what you were doing, you know? Just, hey, man, you want to do a podcast? Hey, sure, why not?
Yeah, I like running my mouth. Let's do it. So.
No doubt. But you know what, folks? We opened you up with a good little Impact tangent there. Heard a little from Taxman about some upcoming projects, but I know you tuned in to get the result rundown of the August 2nd, 2018 episode of Impact Wrestling, folks. It's already, Monday night. A bit of a slouch here. But you know what? How about this? I'm going to be the guy with the midweek show. You guys, Taxman, you and all the other podcasters, you guys can race for Friday morning or Thursday night even if you're really, really on your shit. But I'll be that guy that kind of, you know, creeps in Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday sometimes. Like, hey, before we watch the episode, you can listen to this.
I'm going to defend myself a little bit on there. It's not much a race for me to get it done as much as it is like, oh, Jesus, I'm not going to have another day to do it. Okay, I guess I'm going to stay up until about 2 in the morning to finish this thing. Essentially is what it boils down to.
Absolutely.
The trials and tribulations of fatherhood and all those wonderful things. When they say you have kids, you don't sleep, they weren't lying. I'll tell you that much. I guess also when you run a podcast, you don't sleep either. So I guess I'm just dying quick or double fast, if you'll say.
Juggling podcasting and fatherhood. That's like the American dream right there.
Yeah, and good thing I'm broadcasting good old Canada.
Wow,
yeah,
you're actually.
I'm fixing to get that dual citizenship now after that one.
Yeah, there's my botch of the show right there. I forgot you're broadcasting from Canada. You're not even coming from America. Wow, I'm a moron. But hey, you know, look at the bright side. You got Impact taping in Toronto.
And it's funny, like, if it wasn't for the big F word that we just mentioned, I would have been at those tapings because it's literally a 4-hour flight from here. So, but c'est la vie, as they say.
I have no idea what that means, but moving along. The show opened up with Knockouts champion Su Yung and the Undead Bridesmaid. Well, actually, before the match, it's kind of a regular thing now. We're getting these cold open intro video packages, and this is something that I feel like everybody that's watching Impact right now, we're all on the same page here with this. We all might not agree on the booking of the show, but I feel like everybody is on the same page when we're all thinking that the video package, the production, all of that extra video content going on in Impact Wrestling is just top notch. Probably where they're shining, brighter than every other wrestling company in the game.
I would second that, and I would argue that they probably are doing the best job of it, because there's one thing to run a video package that's visually appealing, but maybe doesn't get the point across, and then there's the flip side of that where visually there's nothing really there. You're just rehashing clips, but it gets the point across. These ones, I feel like you get both of it. You get the great cutaways, the vibrant color, the audio is fantastic. It tells the story, and just everything that they're doing right now in terms of the video team, they're just hitting on all cylinders. And I would argue, till I'm blue in the face, to use your expression.
Till I'm blue in the face, bro.
Sorry, bro. That their video package team, Kevin Sullivan and all the rest of the guys, not that Kevin Sullivan, of course, but that those guys are just, they knock it out of the park every single week. And to further your point, yeah, you read on Twitter, what is everybody saying when the cold open hits? Wow. Like, that was killer. Can't wait for the show. And
there's
it's
something
universal.
weird going on right now on Twitter. It's like, I'll be honest with you, man. Bro, I got to be honest with you, bro. I'd say like last year and the year before that, I was kind of in this state of mind where I was thinking, yeah, you know what? I love this show. I'm going to continue to love this show, but I don't think this company is going to turn it around. I don't think things are going to, change. I think I'm going to enjoy this show until the ship sinks. That's really what I thought. And I was positive. I wouldn't really say that, but in the back of my mind, it kind of felt like that. But now we're in this era where, dude, every time I look at Twitter now, there's just tweets of people saying like, oh, watching Impact. Oh, I can't believe I'm watching Impact again. And it's awesome. It's remarkable. It's
really neat to see, and I'm in the same boat. Almost every Thursday, I can go on Twitter, and there's at least, 2 or 3 new people that are saying like, you know what, I'm giving this thing a shot. Or maybe it's somebody who is kind of like myself, who didn't watch for a long time. Like, granted, I didn't just come back, but who didn't watch for a long time. And they're like, okay, I've heard a bunch, I'm going to give it a shot. Or somebody who's maybe never seen a second of Impact Wrestling before, and they're tuning in now. You don't see that with a lot of the other companies, except for the exotic ones. And by that, I mean like New Japan, where you can't see weekly television, right? The only way to see it would be on a streaming service. But you're getting a lot of the casual wrestling fans, which is a key demographic that they really need to work on, coming back to the show. We're coming into the show for the first time, and it's, yeah, like you said, every week you see more and more of the same people, new people, more importantly, tuning in to the show each and every week.
It's the Impact Renaissance, man.
A la Don Callis and Scott D'Amore, if you will.
Absolutely. But let's get into the episode here. The show kicks off. We get, I got to mention the results I'm reading off of, courtesy of ImpactWrestling.com. So, hey, if something's wrong, it's on them. That's my new thing, because I've messed up with the results before. So now it's like I'm just giving the courtesy of, where I'm reading it off of, just so people, they can take the blame, not me.
See, I'm going to go on record. I've never messed up one show my entire life. I've never called a tag team a completely different tag team, nor have I mistaken title matches for non-title matches and things of that nature. Never happened. You can't prove it. It's not on audio or anything like that. It's not in the archives of Six-Sided Podcasts at all.
You'll never find it
there. Yeah, no, you never find it there. Go back and listen to all those episodes. You'll never find one mistake.
We should create a big blooper reel of like all of our podcast botchings. I mean, you could take all the shows I did with BQ, the King of the Mountain shows, and put them in there as whole. Like they're so awful to go back and listen to. And I'm actually ashamed that I mentioned it because now after this, all the listeners are gonna go listen to them, and it's just they're the first podcast I ever cut. It's just one big cringe fest.
And what was that one again?
That was the King of the Mountain show, hosted by now he's Mr. Impact Lounge BQ. But about 2 years ago, the first podcast I ever did, we had a show called the King of the Mountain show, and that later became the Impact Lounge. So I'm kind of like one of BQ's bastard kids in a way.
I'll be throwing that in the Google machine later.
Oh no. Don't listen to the Robbie E shows either. They're very, very awful. But let's get to the episode here. Knockouts champion Su Yung and the Undead Bridesmaid versus Allie and Kiera Hogan. Taxman, I had a bit of an issue with this match. Like, we're going to run down the card briefly here. I'm not going to, harp too much and dissect too deeply on each match. But this one right here, I had a bit of an issue with it, Taxman, and I'll let you know. I didn't like how Allie picked up the win on Su Yung. And the reason is I didn't like how, Allie couldn't find it within herself to defeat her. Even when she had the spirit of Rosemary possessing her, she still came up short and she still got put in a coffin. Why is she suddenly able to beat her in a tag match with Kiera Hogan? I'm a little confused here. Am I thinking too hard on it? Help me out here.
See, I don't think you are at all, to be honest. I said the same thing in my show last week. Just it didn't make any like I get if you want to beat Su Yung to beat her, so she doesn't have this aura of the undefeated undead Su Yung whatever, which it sucks a little bit that you wouldn't want to kind of go in that direction, but I get it if you really want to beat her, that it's in a tag non-title match, fine. I don't like Allie getting the win, not for the same reason as you described. As I'm a little bit more miffed, if you will, why Kiera Hogan doesn't get a win. Right? You've seen, and I've been really big on Kiera Hogan lately.
It would have been the perfect opportunity to give her that underdog surprise win. That would have been a great opportunity.
And it would have made sense in terms of, okay, Kiera Hogan beat her in a tag match, yeah, but she finally gets that big win against a credible opponent rather than, you look at her track record lately, it's a beatdown from Tessa Blanchard, right? It's a beatdown from Taya. It's a beatdown, and you just go down the list, right? It would have been nice for me personally to see her pick up that win. I don't see why Allie needs it. To me, it doesn't make any sense. And I know people are saying they need to position her for the rematch, but no, you don't. To me, and maybe I'm totally out to lunch on this one, but I always thought that the champion who loses gets that rematch triggered automatically. So why then does she need a win to get into that rematch picture? Would it not just be an automatic given? Hey, Allie's back, time for her rematch?
It's a good assessment there. But anyway, the match ends with Allie hitting a beautiful code breaker on Su Yung. A code breaker beautiful enough to make even Chris Jericho himself proud, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. Shades of Jericho is not a bad thing in Impact Wrestling, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same page as far as that goes. I'm hoping we get to see him. I feel like it's inevitable. I feel like it has to happen.
Yeah, in some way, shape, or form, it almost would be a shame if it didn't at this point. Especially with the whole Jericho Cruise. Now it's the Ring of Honor versus Impact kind of super card, but on a cruise ship. Yeah. So it would make sense to me.
Yeah, he didn't show up at Slammiversary, so now I feel like it's inevitable that something is going to happen on that cruise, and I think it's going to lead into something. We'll see. We'll see what they do. this regime right now, the powers that be creatively, they've been very good at keeping things unpredictable, so I don't know what's going to happen. I was personally hoping that Sami Callihan was really going to show up on a pirate ship, but whatever, I'll take what I can get. But back to the tag match. This was a fun tag match. I was a little disappointed in the ending. I don't know. I think the Kiera Hogan thing, that's a good call there, but I just didn't get how Allie could beat her now, and she couldn't beat her in the past, but whatever. But that's not it. The bitch, I've dubbed her that here on my show here with Trent, the bitch, Tessa Blanchard. She shows up out of nowhere, as per usual, makes her bold statement by laying out Allie with the hammerlock DDT, shades of CM Punk. Tessa is a force to be reckoned with. She's a bad bitch. She's just been making a statement on the show week after week.
I loved that DDT.
It's beautiful.
That is such a vicious move. Oh, so good.
Brutal. Then we get Tessa backstage explaining her actions. She believes she should get a shot at the Knockouts Championship before Allie does. I don't know about that, but hey, we'll see. I applaud her confidence, that's for sure.
I love her on the her backstage segments. I love when they get her right out of something, right? Like when she jumps whoever and they get her right out of that and she's still kind of out of breath, but she's still pissed.
Those are the best. The reaction type.
Yeah,
remember how JB used to do reaction years ago where he would catch the guys right after the show? Those are always the best when you get a promo right after it happened and the people are still out of breath. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I can't agree more.
Moving along here though, I love these, man. I am just always, one of my favorite things of good old wrestling TV shows is the squash match. I'm a sucker for a good old seeing two locals get their asses handed to them, and that's exactly what they got here. We had the OGs, Homicide and Hernandez with King, and they went up against two local yokels, apparently by the names of Nathan Smoak and Ray Steele, and it was a tough one. It was a tough one.
You probably never heard of them, and you probably will never hear of them again after that match because they got just annihilated.
That was it. That was a quickie. So they make quick work of the young local talent before King gets on the mic to talk his shit. He insults LAX and calls them out. Then Santana, Ortiz, and Konnan charge the ring and go on the attack. Santana hits a big aerial maneuver on the OGs. Ortiz busts out an axe. He gets his juggalo on, some ICP type stuff, busting out the axe. But security stops him from using it on Homicide. Konnan holds back LAX as the two sides separate. It becomes clear that this war is far from over. And then backstage after that segment, we get Konnan telling LAX that they're falling into the OG's trap. Konnan says he raised the OGs, so he knows what their next move is before they do it. He tells Santana and Ortiz they have to bide their time and take out the OGs for good.
One mention I want to make of that, about the in-ring stuff. So you had Ortiz with the axe and Kingston with the 8-ball and the sock. You cannot get more gangster than that.
These are video game weapons. Where did he get an axe from?
I love it.
Whatever happened to, going and getting a gun and pulling it out on somebody, Simple times, man. We're doing axes, 8-ball in the sock. Now, there is some storytelling relevance to the 8-ball in the sock. Apparently, that's a callback to Konnan using it in LAX's original TNA run. Apparently, that's a callback to that. But this axe, I don't know if I'm missing something here, or maybe they just did it for the shock value of, this will go viral. Like wrestling websites will make this video viral. A guy pulls an axe out in a wrestling match. I don't know what the idea was. Even a machete would be a little more practical, but the axe, we're going to medieval times here, busting out the axe.
Well, if they did it for all the viral stuff, it worked. Because I saw that picture of Ortiz in the middle of the ring with the axe over his head, plastered everywhere. So if that was the intention, bro, it worked.
Absolutely. Serious like a late period. Or an axe wound, for that matter. That's not a good, that was a little too, move along here. We get a little commercial for Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea. Man, it was weird seeing Ring of Honor logos on my television set during an Impact broadcast. I guess that's the times now. That's the pro wrestling landscape we're in right now. Companies are just all in bed together, working together. It's not like the old days. Everybody's working together, and that's how it should be. Man, I wish I could go on this Rock and Wrestling Rager. I looked it up. I simply can't afford it. It's way too expensive. But if anybody is going on this, definitely hit me up on Twitter at We Talk Impact, and I'm sure my buddy Taxman here at Six Sided Pod, he's also interested. Send us some exclusive pictures, videos, whatever you can send us, because, man, I wish I could go on this cruise.
Yeah, myself included. Once again, if that big F word wasn't so prevalent, this would be a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Wait a second, man. What's up with you and that F word thing? How come you can't bring the family out with you? Why is your motive always to sneak out on your own?
Well,
bring the kids to Impact.
My loving wife cannot stand wrestling, so that's
How
the
does she
first
feel
nail
about
in the
you
coffin.
operating a wrestling podcast in your free time? Is it like cool?
So a funny story about that. When we lived at our old house before we bought this place where we are currently, there was no basement. It was a main floor and 2 bedrooms on the upstairs. So I had to do the podcast when she was at work because she could not stand hearing me talk about wrestling, watching wrestling, whatever you want to say, right? Now it's tremendous. I got my nice little office in the basement here. I know it's such a cliche, like, oh, the old basement wrestling nerds. It's not even like that. Like, I have to be
it's Dad's escape. It's Dad's man cave. Dad's time away from the family, locking yourself in the compound. That's what every great American basement is for. Great Canadian. I'm sorry. I keep acting like you're an American.
I got the paperwork out right now for that dual citizenship. I'm filling it up right now. Like we're gonna be good to go here. But so getting back to so part of that is that, and then part of it is my kids are just very young for that right now. Like my oldest, if you want to call her that, daughter is 19 months, and my youngest is 6 months. So
they're babies.
I'm a little ill-equipped in the age platform to be able to go on something like this.
No, I hear you there. I feel you. That makes sense. I attacked you there for no reason, but you're in the right. You're in the clear.
Oh, and that's an exclusive too now, because I've never actually talked about my the age of my kids or the fact that my wife hates wrestling on my show.
Pull back
so there
the
you
curtain
go.
Sometimes, Sometimes you got to talk about our lives a little bit.
Yeah.
But then moving here with the show, we get a little OVE cam. Always a good highlight for me. On the OVE cam, a bald Sami Callihan looking a lot like Gigi Allen. That's an obscure reference here if you know who that is. Sami Callihan looks strangely a lot like Gigi Allen lately. A bald Sami Callihan says that they're not just going to get revenge on Pentagon Jr. in Phoenix tonight. They're going to get personal. I think that usually means they're going to try to take their masks off, but we'll see what's up. We'll see where that goes. Then we get Trent's favorite, the Desi Hit Squad, Rohit Raju and Gursinder Singh with Gama Singh versus one of my favorites, the good old fun-loving KM and Fallah Bahh. Fallah hits Gursinder with a big back body drop. Gama gets up on the apron, distracting Fallah and allowing Gursinder to take control of the match. Rohit slams his own partner, Gursinder, into Fallah for a near fall. I'm not even going to see... Now I'm starting to get stuck in it and read out the results. I'm not going to do that. Fuck that. I'm going to scrap that. I'm going to hit the dump button on that, if you will. We get the Desi Hit Squad with Gama Singh versus KM and Fallah Bahh. Now, I'm going to, instead of dissecting the match here, Taxman, I'm going to ask you for your opinion on both teams. How are you feeling about the Desi Hit Squad, and how are you feeling about KM and Fallah Bahh?
So, last team first, I was very, very happy that they decided to keep this tag team around. I thought that they were finally starting to hit their stride in terms of that fun-loving comedy, buddy comedy, whatever you want to say, tag team that is really missing from wrestling in general. There are certain individuals that do it in different companies, like Yano in New Japan, for example, but there's not that comedy team that's where it's not ha ha ha, this is a joke because these guys are bumbling idiots. They do it a different way. So I was very happy to see them together as a team, and I just really enjoy them. And I made this point on my show as well. I've never seen a wrestling crowd get behind a thumb in the eye spot ever in my life until this. So that just shows you how well received this team is just in general with the crowd. In terms of the DC hit squad, as Trent
cleared
said,
that up.
I did catch that.
Trent cleared that up for us.
So yeah, I do listen to the show, Trent, just so you know. But I know a lot of people they don't get it just yet. Like they don't. I don't know if they're not connecting with the team. Personally, I like the story that's being told where their first few matches they have to have Gama Singh heavily involved in the finish, right? Then it's a little bit less the match previous to this. Now, this match, I know Fallah had his little miscommunication there, but now Gama Singh is a little bit less involved. And now you're kind of seeing them learning how to win while still having guidance, not as much influence in the match from their mentor as they've had in the past.
And him being, a shitbag weasel manager, cheating.
Oh, he's a coach, though.
That's right, he's a coach. As Don Callis cleared up for us, he's a coach.
Yeah, that's why he's allowed to hop on the ring. Coach is allowed to do that.
Oh, man. Don Callis is the best, isn't he?
Just a breath of fresh air in the whole color commentary thing. I like how he doesn't... there's no trying. You know what I mean? There's not like, oh, he has to be the heel commentator or he has to be putting over the company on every, syllable and consonant and he throws out there, right? It's so free flowing. And I really think that it allows Josh to kind of get out of that JR spell that he was doing for such a long time, right? Just Josh Matthews seems way more comfortable in his role now with Don Callis there, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, Don Callis definitely brings out the best in Josh. See, that's the thing with Josh. Nothing against him. Take nothing away from him. A lot of people shit on him and give him a lot of flack. But I personally, I like the guy. I have nothing against him. But I think his commentary usually, he's as good as the guy next to him sometimes. Like, other people bring the best out in Josh. Nothing against Pope. Some of my favorite episodes were ones called by Pope and Josh. But if you listen to some of that old commentary, man, compared to now Don Callis and Josh Matthews, it's fucking great. And I really do think that Don brings out the best in Josh. At the end of our shows, we usually leave off with the Don Callis quote of the night. But tonight, Taxman, I'm going to leave us with the Josh Matthews quote of the night. I never thought it would happen. I didn't even think it was possible. But Josh Matthews is getting the quote of the night on the show, at the end of the show.
Nobody listening right now can see it, but I got a huge smile on my face because I know it's going to be tremendous.
And you know exactly which one it is. Like, you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
Well, we have been known to think alike a time or two before, so...
Yeah, we'll get there. When we bring up Scarlet Bordeaux, we'll get there. But, Scarlet Bordeaux. All right, so... back here to the match. So here we go, another tangent. The tangent. We have to have like a bell, like a sound effect for every time we go off on a tangent. Ring the tangent bell. How about that? Make it a little bell, the tangent bell. There we go. But so KM turns around in an illegal double team attempt by the Desi Hit Squad, or what did he say? DC Hit Squad?
Yeah, he said DC because it means it's for a certain region of India. I believe.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, Trent, don't kill me. I did listen.
Yeah. So Fallah goes in for the assistance, but he inadvertently distracts the referee, possibly costing him his own team the match. The Desi Hit Squad hit a flurry of double team offense on KM to pick up the victory. All right, so you know what? The thing is, KM and Fallah, they're not in this for wins. They're a funny tag team. They're out there to entertain. So they don't lose anything when they take a loss. I'm sure there are people on Impact social media like, oh, they're jobbers, man. You're wasting Fallah Bahh. But it's like, the role works. They're good for it. They lose nothing from it. And the DC Hit Squad, that's right, Trent, DC. The DC Hit Squad, they walk away looking like badasses.
I will say just one quick side note, and I don't want to get on a whole tangent again, but yeah. I feel like a loss for KM and Fallah. Is it weird that I think that a loss for those two helps their character? Like it the more that they lose, the more it kind of builds that whole buddy comedy dysfunctional dichotomy that they have.
Yeah, no, it definitely. You totally hit the head on the nail there. It's They don't have to win. They don't have to win. And them, backstage trying to, get their shit together, you know what I mean, so to speak. Just their funny little vignettes. Like, it works. It makes more sense for them to lose, totally.
Yeah, obviously you get no argument from me, so.
Yeah. Then backstage, hold on a second, Trent. We're about to talk about Santino. Give me a second here. They're driving me to substance here, Trent. I don't know what Santino's doing.
I didn't understand any of this, to be honest with you.
You know what? I don't really get it. It doesn't really make sense to me. It's not Santino. It's the guy, Anthony Carelli. He works with the company. He does the show. What is it? Behind the Lights with Alicia the interviewer from Ambi.
Yep.
He does that show, so he works with the company a little, and I got nothing against the guy. I don't hate him or anything like that, but I just don't see any point in booking him. It's kind of like, but I don't want to be a dick, man. I don't want to be a dick, but everybody knows what I'm thinking. I mean, it's Santino. It's kind of like, on paper to fans, you're trying to win back. When they see that, Santino Marella from WWE is on the show, it kind of smells like the old TNA that they want nothing to do with on paper. But when you actually see the presentation of it, it's just him as himself in a realistic role. He runs, I believe, Destiny up there in Canada. Am I correct? Is it Destiny Pro Wrestling?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Okay, so it's him as himself bringing out one of his top students and operating in a manager role. So he's not out there doing the shtick, the Santino shtick, although the crowd was chanting for it. Did you catch that? There was a Cobra chant during the match later on.
And it's funny because you always find that on commentary they'll make mention of somebody's past name. But they've made a very concentrated effort to not mention Santino Marella at all on commentary. They always put a lot of emphasis on Anthony Carelli, like every single time they said his name. So maybe that was just one of those, like you said, trying to keep it in that serious manager role.
And I mean, him as a person, I don't know the guy. I don't know what he's thinking, but I would, I think it's safe to make the assumption that he's proud of being Santino. He did great things with the biggest wrestling company in the world. He had a great career. He had a great run. But as a person, he doesn't want to be typecasted as the goofy Cobra Santino guy everywhere he goes in wrestling. This is him being himself. It's a more realistic approach. So at least,
and especially not when he's running into Jim Cornette at a Detroit Comic-Con. Not that, that wasn't brought up at all.
Yeah, no, none of that. It's a good thing that Jim isn't there as the general manager on the show anymore, else we would have got a backstage brawl between Anthony Carelli and Jim Cornette right on the Impact show.
Yeah, it'd be a brawl to see whose dick fell out of their pants faster. I mean, wait a minute. Hey, who let this guy on the podcast? God damn.
Double cheese, motherfucker. Then we get Alicia Tout interviewing Johnny Impact backstage. He made his return at the Slammiversary. Impact says he competes to prove he's the best, but that's not why Kongo Khan competes. He competes to injure people. Jimmy Jacobs interrupts, and Impact knocks him to the ground with a punch. Impact tells Jacobs he wants the monster and he's not going to ask again. So Johnny Impact wants Kongo Kong. We'll see where that goes, how that works out for him. Moving along here, we get World Champion Austin Aries versus Dustin Cameron with Anthony Carelli, the World Championship match. This was a little weird, man. This was a little... I was a little confused when this was when this was starting out. I wasn't sure what direction it was going in, but Aries isn't taking his competition seriously as he wrestles the match in his street clothes. Aries is looking to embarrass Cameron, but Cameron isn't backing down. Cameron gets some offense in and takes the champ down to the mat. Aries hits the brain buster effortlessly, but he won't let the referee count to 3. Carelli throws in the towel, symbolically throwing in that white towel, awarding the victory to Aries. Some real old school pro wrestling shenanigans right there. But after the match, Taxman, Aries locks in the last chancery, the most beautiful submission in wrestling in my opinion. He locks in the last chancery, but Carelli gets in the ring to stop him. Aries dares Carelli to throw a punch at him, but Carelli hits him with the low blow instead, with a taste of his own medicine. Hit him right in the dick, hit him in the ding-ding. Aries retreats up the ramp, but he's met by another man, this time world champion. Oh, sorry, that's a botch there.
Former world champion.
Yeah. Former world champion with his eyes on the world championship, Eddie Edwards, and he's got a kendo stick. He attacks Aries with his kendo stick that was handed down to him, a little hand-me-down from Tommy Dreamer, but Aries is able to break free and escape. Next week they'll meet one-on-one with the world championship on the line. Give me your take. Give me your take on this whole segment.
Well, first, I know it's kind of last thing first, but did you catch a bit of the crowd reaction when Eddie Edwards came out? It was a little bit mixed, hey?
Yeah, you know what, man? This is going to take some time to, familiarize the audience with this character. Because we're used to Crazy Eddie, but he's a little different now. I feel like since the Tommy Dreamer match, he's a little different. He's kind of got his marriage in order this time a little bit. He's I don't know. He's still whacked out, but he doesn't seem as evil and bloodthirsty as he was when he wanted to kill Sami Callihan. He's still crazy and out of his mind. He's still traumatized from all that stuff, but he's a little more focused now, and he's got his eyes on Austin Aries and the World Championship.
I want to see if he kind of goes to more that calculated type of wrestling, rather than, you have the two essentially bipolar styles of wrestling. He just had that essentially bloodbath with Tommy Dreamer. I know he's the one who bled, but you know what I'm getting at. If he goes into this Austin Aries match and it's just a pure, technical wrestling match, rather than, he's got 87 screws loose and you don't know if he's got 4 dead bodies in the back of his Cadillac.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That character, it's a little confusing to me that it was given to him of all people, because he's known as just the in-ring worker. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's a workhorse out there in the ring. The whole hardcore crazy guy, hardcore wrestling style, I guess it's the only way to call it. The guy with the tables and the kendo sticks and the chairs, that never really fit his personality, but I guess they're just, trying something different with him and having him do something outside of his comfort zone. And he's good, but sometimes, man, it's just it's a little awkward for me sometimes watching these segments. And this one especially, just seeing him with that crazy look on his face, holding the kendo stick. I don't know. I'm a little iffy about it. A lot of people think it's totally kick-ass. They're loving it, eating it up. I'm a little funny about it.
I'm 50-50. When he's hitting the mark, it's fantastic. But when it's not quite there, you're like, he still can't find that other gear.
Yeah.
Right? That's the one criticism that you kind of hear universally about Eddie Edwards, is that he's fantastic in the ring, right? He's pretty good on the stick. The video packages that he's involved in are pretty good, but he's always missing that top gear, right? So when you do see him bring out that crazy wild side and it works, then he's obviously hit the mark. But when it doesn't, and when it falls short, is kind of like you're saying, you're just I can't buy it yet. Like I'm not all there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. So, better luck next time, Dustin Cameron. Anthony Carelli hits Aries in the dick. That's keep that in mind. Keep Anthony Carelli in mind. We're going to talk about him again at the end of the episode, and if you watched it already, bit of a strange ending. We'll get to it, but we're going backstage now. Alicia Atout, Mrs. Amby. She's interviewing Eddie's wife, Alicia. She says she's putting her personal life aside to focus on competing in the Knockouts division. So I guess we're going to be seeing more Alicia Edwards in the Knockouts division moving forward. That's a nice little tidbit there of news for you. But Eddie Edwards interrupts, and he apologizes for the way he's been acting. He promises her that things will be different going forward. Alicia insists that they will get relationship help, but Eddie says the only way they will need to come back next week when he defeats Austin Aries for the World Championship. Alicia leaves it as it's become apparent that Eddie still isn't his old self. There's uncertainty at the end of the promo there.
Yeah, and it's just one of those awkward relationship, like shit that you would see in real life, right? So for me, the hint of reality is a nice touch. And as for Alicia coming back into the fold, it's I was never, and I'll be perfectly honest, I was never sold on her in the ring, but she's been away for quite a while, so I'm kind of looking forward to, I'm looking forward to her coming back, and she got a lot of competition now. Like, this is not the knockouts in 16 or 17 anymore, right? Like, there's legitimate top-tier talent, so I'm curious to see how she's going to measure up.
We'll see. We'll see what she's got, Alicia Edwards. But moving along here, we get a new interviewer. This guy looks right out of like a cheesy B film. Bob Kapoor. And there was a lot of controversy about Bob online. I'm going to sound off on that a little bit. I wasn't sure if I was going to mention it on the review or not, but
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but we had talked about how you and I kind of think on the same wavelength, and I was going to mention something here too.
Did you talk about this on your podcast last week?
No, I didn't. Okay. I actually didn't mention any of this, but because it happened after the fact.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we'll see if we're on the same page.
Yeah,
here.
No, you know where I'm going with this. So, this was a funny segment. It was funny. It was very animated. It was very funny. I liked it. Obviously, I love Scarlett Bordeaux. Goddamn, who wouldn't? Woo. But there was some controversy on Twitter. Now, let me make this clear. I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to live with this sort of disability. Although I stutter half the time here on the podcast, I probably am in that boat. But there was some controversy on Twitter. This Bob Kapoor character, clearly he was speaking very coherently and clearly. And then when Scarlett came out and got, he started feeling her vibes and everything, he's sweating, he can't speak, he's in awe of her beauty, he's shocked. Very classic, wiping the sweat up with his tie. He was a caricature of a nervous man around a beautiful woman. It was very clear what it was. But for some reason on Twitter, an Impact fan, it seems like a cool guy. I followed him. Stuttering Loudly is his Twitter handle. Cool guy. He stutters. He's an advocate. He's very vocal, and that's great. I applaud that. But I didn't like the way he went about things on Twitter. He instantly took it as Impact was trying to offend people and have this guy, Bob Kapoor, as a stuttering character, but it wasn't meant to be a caricature of a guy stuttering with a disability. It was a caricature of a guy shocked and at a loss of words around a beautiful woman. He was in awe. Like, for some reason, this guy, Stuttering Loudly, he thought that it was supposed to be an offensive caricature against people who stutter. And when he was kind of tweeting about it, and dude, that's what Twitter is. Everybody has a voice. I have nothing against him tweeting because, he was offended. It offends him. It hits home for him. I get that. But he misunderstood what they were trying to do. And what bothered me was with his tweets, he tagged a bunch of like groups, groups for, standing up for really people who stutter, and all those types of, advocacy groups. And what are you trying to get by doing that? All that could possibly happen out of that scenario is Impact getting pulled off of Pop TV for something that never even happened. I didn't like the way he handled it, the way he tagged everybody. He tagged all the wrestlers, all the people involved, and I understand. I totally get it. I get why you would be offended, but he was offended for no reason. If Impact did have a caricature on their show making fun of people that are disabled and have a speech impediment, this guy's totally in the right, and I support him because that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. But the way he went about it, he clearly misunderstood what they were doing, and he tried to put the heat on Impact Wrestling. Dude, I'm ranting here. I'm going off. Just take it from here, man. Take it from here, Taxman.
So this is why I didn't speak about it on my show, is because I don't really go on Twitter during the course of the show. A lot of the times that's simply because I don't have a chance to watch it live, so I don't want to get spoiled, right? I want to be able to watch it uninterrupted, if you will, or unspoiled is a better term to phrase it. But so I did my review, and then on Friday I'm catching up on Twitter, and I'm like, what? And I'm reading more, and I'm like, what the fuck? And yeah, and I follow him as well. Like, we've had a bunch of conversations just back and forth about random topics throughout the last couple of months or whatever.
He's cool. He's a cool guy. I think he's an awesome guy. I got nothing against him.
Super intelligent, and I find myself agreeing with almost everything he says. Now, almost is obviously a big word here, because I didn't get, to me, and this is going to sound so bad, and sorry for saying it, I suppose, but to me, this just reeks of I'm going to be offended by something to be offended by it. And that was my 100% take from it. And I'm like, you don't understand, clearly we're watching a fictitious program, right? Professional wrestling. If you didn't know, kids, it's a work, right? So, but we're watching a character being developed, and for a character to be developed, you need storylines, or you need something to happen to give that character definition. It's no different than watching a movie and a new person is introduced. Well, oftentimes when there's somebody introduced, there's backstory, or there's some other character mentioning this person, but they just don't come out of nowhere, right? What I'm trying to get at is you need something else there to introduce a character, to introduce facets or different perspectives of this character. So what you have here is there's no conspiracy here. There's no reading between the lines. You have a guy who's clearly dumbfounded by and awestruck by this woman's beauty. He turns into a bumbling idiot. We've all seen it in real life, and
happened to me many times. Happens to me every weekend. Every time I go out drinking with my buddies at the bar. Every time.
Well, yeah, so a perfect example of this is this happened forever ago, and the names aren't really relevant. But a couple of friends and myself went. We're coming back from the bar one night. We went to a Mickey D's for a bite to eat, right? It's the classic bar food soiree, if you will.
Oh yeah.
So homie goes up to the cashier, whatever you guys call it down south there. I should find out because I'm filling out my my dual citizenship right now. But anyways, so homie goes up to the cashier, and she's a good looking girl, and he's had a couple of pops. So he's fumbling all over himself, and he opens his wallet, and his money spills everywhere, and his cards fall out and whatever. So to me, I'm watching this happen, and immediately I'm thinking back to all those times when you're 16, 17, 20, 21, 24, and you're trying to Mac Daddy the hot chick, and you're just a total knob, right? And by no fault of your own, just because you're just falling over yourself. And that's exactly what I took from this. And then to find that certain people just found it offensive to find it offensive. It's just like, I don't get it. Especially when these same people are sitting here going, this is the greatest television show on television right now. This is probably the greatest wrestling product ever. And all this kind of positive stuff, because I'll be honest, the program itself has been nothing but positive the last 7 months or whatever that this creative team has been in charge. But you have these same people saying that, but, oh no, wait a minute. Whoa. We can't be doing this on television. This is offensive. And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? Like this, like literally what the fuck? You're watching a television show that's meant to evoke emotion, and this evokes emotion on you, so now it's offensive. I don't get it. To me, it just makes no sense. And sorry, I'm now going off on a tangent, but like, it literally pissed me off. It'd be no different than, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a situation that I can relate to. It would be like if they had a bullying storyline, because I was bullied real bad as a kid when I was growing up, like through junior high and the first couple years of high school. It'd be like if there was a bullying segment, which had been done, by the way, multiple times in every wrestling promotion in history, throughout history.
They had a character named Bully Ray.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? It would be like me looking at something like that and going, oh, hey, wait a minute, raising my hand here. I'm offended. So that was my take. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm the old cantankerous guy at 33, but I don't think so.
Bottom line, I guess Stuttering Loudly misinterpreted what the character was supposed to be, and I didn't even know if I was going to mention it here on the podcast, because it's like, it's a sensitive thing. Like, how do you even, like, but then again, it's like, if they did have a stuttering character, judging by the way it's portrayed and booked, obviously, is that even like so bad? Like, wouldn't it be worse to say that, we can't have any sort of people with any sort of disabilities in our show? You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be worse to have every single character, perfect? Because human beings aren't perfect.
Isn't that what you want in a wrestling show? Is that diversity of, you want relatable people, right? You can't have, not everyone can be a Hulk Hogan brother and be 6'8" and drop the leg on everybody, right? You need relatable characters. So what's more relatable than somebody with your average person's foibles? And, stuttering is one of them. And if there was a character who that was part of their makeup, but they were booked properly and whatever, would you be offended then? Probably not. But because this was an isolated whatever, and because he was obviously a not very, well, we'll say, maintained physical specimen who's bumbling over a smoke show woman, like now, like, the whole thing to me just was one of those, like, you're just offended to be offended. And sorry, Stuttering, if you're listening to this and you're pissed at me, fine, we can hash it out. It's all good. And if you want to make me see your point of view, then go for it. But I'll be honest, I don't get it.
If he happens to hear this, how about this? I would love to have him here on the show and tell us, give us his side of the story. I would love for that. Why not?
I'll tune in.
Absolutely. No, well, I mean, you're a part of it now, buddy. You're already a guilty name. You're already guilty by association. So you would have to pop on
and
again for that.
Here
one.
I was thinking I was safe in the basement.
No. You thought you were going to skip over it, but we opened that can of worms. We went there. But bottom line, Bob Kapoor, he was a bumbling idiot, like you said. Bottom line, Impact Wrestling did not stutter sham, and Scarlett Bordeaux will not be hot shammed. That's what we got from that, and she's here to make wrestling sexy again. And then she tells the boys to hit her music, and oh, do I love watching her walk away. She is hot.
What's the your usual line? Male demographic, throw it in there.
Male demo. Bring back that male demo. That's my gimmick, the male demo guy. And they listen to me. It's like they heard me talking about it. Bring back the male demo. Because I said that before Scarlett came on the show. I'm telling you, dude, I said it on your show. They listened.
There's no other explanation.
Has to be. But moving along here, we get Grado telling Joe Hendry and Katarina, that's the Katarina that Joe Hendry totally isn't fucking behind Grado's back. Like, not a chance. That's totally not going on here. But Grado tells Joe Hendry and Katarina that he's furious at Eli Drake for trying to cause dissension amongst them. Because, Grado is not standing for anybody having sex with his girl behind his back. Because that's totally not happening with Joe Hendry.
0% chance.
0%. Not happening. Grado finds Drake and challenges him to a tag team match. Drake grabs the Cult of Lee and tells Grado, Hendry, and Katarina that unlike last week, he has a special gift for all three of them tonight. So before the match gets underway, Drake and both the members of Cult of Lee attack Grado and Hendry. Trevor Lee and Caleb Konley argue over who gets the team with Drake. Being the leader of the Cult of Lee, Trevor wins that battle and steps on the apron to start the match. So then we get Eli Drake with the Cult of Lee versus Grado and Joe Hendry with Katarina, who's totally not having sex with Joe Hendry.
0% chance.
Not happening. But apparently she might be riding the gravy train too, Daddy. He wants a piece. He wants to hit her dummy button. You know what I'm saying? but in the ring, Drake connects with the beautiful gravy train. Perfect. Hits it on Grado to win off the match. Backstage, we get Rohit and Raju with Gursinder Singh, and they're celebrating their victory over KM and Fallah. This was great. Gama just pops up out of nowhere and just slaps the shit out of them real quick.
I love the that whole thing. Him as a manager, I just love the whole presentation. Because it's that
I love
old
the character
school,
of him being like the disciplinary that just, he's always just smacking him upside of the head. It reminds me of, like, dude, I am a huge mark for the Three Stooges, and I just think of Mo slapping, Curly and Larry upside the head,
And, like, there's no chill in those slaps, right? Like, that's those things are coming in hot, and it's so good. Like, I love it. I think it's tremendous.
You heard Trent a few times on the show. He mentions, he's like, oh, and I love Gama because he reminds me of an uncle I have. And then I started thinking, wait a second, did Trent just tell all of us that he had an uncle that would slap the shit out of him all the time? Did he open up about that, like, one way?
Like, I feel like that was. We're talking about peeks behind the curtains, right? Like, that was Trent's little peek behind the family dichotomy there.
Did he have an uncle that would just pop up and slap him all the time?
He did say that. I'm pretty sure he said that on the show that he ran solo.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. He mentioned, every time we bring up the Hit Squad, he always says, oh, I love Gama. It reminds me of an uncle. And, like, as it, like, went along with their, vignettes and their promos,
and now we're seeing that.
Yeah, it's like, wait a second, Trent. Did you have an abusive uncle? Do we need to talk about this?
It's premise for the new show.
Yeah,
next show,
we could have like therapy shows, like group therapy type podcast.
Hey, you'll have Monday night Kyle and Trent running down Impact Wrestling, Tuesday night therapy show. Tune in live.
That's right. Like a type of Dr. Phil type show. We'll do therapy. I'm writing that one down. That's a good idea for the tank. But one of my favorite parts in the show here, moving along, we get a Matt Sydal promo that I really liked, man. It took time to grow on me. Like, I wasn't a total mark for it right off the bat, but I'm really in love with the current Matt Sydal character.
Okay, so I know you've asked me about 40 questions in this podcast, but I'm going to ask you, like, what's your take of Matt Sydal from the time, I'm going to say from when he came back in, what was that? Would that have been late 2017 till now? Like, what's your read on him?
Oh, man,
in terms of a character.
In terms strictly as a character, I freaking love the guy. They didn't really jump right into it right off the bat, but as they slowly, gave him that woke third eye character. Initially, he was attached to Josh. They seemingly dropped that. That's not part of it anymore, but I really am just such a big fan of the way he speaks and his promos. I love this, like, third eye character.
To me, he's like that hipster dummy that you see on Twitter, and you're like, God, I hate this guy.
Oh yeah, I said that a few times. Like, He reminds me of that one kid I went to high school with that like just took way too much acid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the way he speaks in the promos, man. Like I loved how he was saying that the X Division champion chooses who has it. Like who thinks of that shit?
And you could tell too, like this is him.
Yeah, oh,
right.
Yeah.
There's no. He's not being fed lines. There's no earpiece.
That's the thing. If I've been a fan of his for years, and like you read stories about him, like going to like he went to like India or something, and went on some sort of crazy spiritual awakening, and like took some sort of like crazy crazy psychedelic like mind altering drug like a trip type experience, and that was years ago, and like that's just the kind of guy he is, like, you know what I mean? Like this is him, and he's never really been portrayed as such in a wrestling show before, and it's like Impact is using that classic formula of taking people who they are and just, you know, turning the volume up and exaggerating their real, their who they really are, but exaggerating them as characters, and it's just a formula that almost always works, and he's knocking it out of the park. I know this sounds crazy, but like his character, like I could see him moving up the card over time. I really could.
Yeah, I agree. I think almost the best thing for him was losing the X Division title, because now it really opens him up to new matches. Like you can really expand the type of opponents he can have moving forward, and especially if he's keeping this, or continuing, I should say, to develop this character that he has. Like I can believe that he can challenge Austin Aries any night for the heavyweight title. Or I can believe that he can go toe-to-toe with Moose any night of the week. Or I can believe that he can go against, throw it any name you want there. It's believable now. Like, it wasn't so much before when he had first come in and was first kind of typecast in that X Division role. But now, like, with the way that he's developing, you can really see him in that different role. Now it's believable.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Huge fan of the character. Love to see what they're going to do with him, but this promo, I really love this promo. It was good stuff. Go back and watch it again if you didn't pay too much attention, because I know sometimes some fans, they'll kind of, stop paying attention or tune away, in between certain video packages and promos, and, pay attention to the matches. This is a promo you got to see. Matt Seidel totally knocks it out of the park, but finally, main event time. We get OVE with Sami Callihan versus the Lucha Brothers.
This thing was insane. Like, I had mentioned this on my program as well. Like, this is probably 6 or 8 episodes in a row where the main event match is exactly that. Like, it's everything you could possibly want in a television match without the guys, like, dying in the ring, essentially.
It's insane, man. And like right on paper, you see OVE versus Pentagon and Phoenix. You know what you're getting. You know what this is going to be. This is, if you look away for 2 seconds, you missed 2 moonsaults, a package pile driver, and, a 450 splash off of the apron. Like, it's just wrestling on another level. Like, it's kind of like that cruiserweight, almost like Ring of Honor style, of wrestling. But it's Impact making it its own and putting its own spin on it. I love the diversity in their roster. A team like OVE, Dave and Jake Christ versus world class, the best luchadors in professional wrestling today, Pentagon and Phoenix. And it sounds like I'm just saying that, but it's the truth. I mean, in the lucha scene, who's bigger than Pentagon? Nobody. And Phoenix is a close second. What they did out there was just beautiful. Beautiful. It's poetry in motion. It's that type of wrestling. If it's not your cup of tea, you want to see 2 heavyweights. Impact has something for everybody. There's plenty of variety in the show. You know what I mean?
I will say too, I especially liked on commentary that where they put over the fact that they're going to use the relaxed luchador style of reffing. Because you see that allows a lot more of those tag team maneuvers in the course of a match, whereas, the ref's not giving you the 5 count to get back in your corner. And they really did a good job of that, because if you don't watch a lot of, or any for that matter, luchador wrestling, you would come into this match and go, okay, where's the tags? Why are they, 2 minutes in the ring at the same time and nobody's getting a disqualified or whatever, right? So I thought they did a really good job on commentary of putting over the fact that, okay, this is how they're calling the match. That's why it's allowing these guys to be able to come and do, like, the freaking Pentagon driver with Phoenix coming off the top rope with the double stomper. That's why you're allowing the Chris brothers to just like run amok for, 1, 2, 3 minutes at a time, because it's that style of a tag match, within Impact's now branched out structure of involving different companies and different styles of wrestling.
It's wrestling crack. That's what I was calling it to my buddy Cody. It's like wrestling crack. It's like just the high level, high intensity style. Like I said, you look away for 2 seconds, these guys already just beautiful. They smoked it, and I feel like it's becoming kind of a thing lately, where like Impact's main events are just these crazy, just stacked out, just this style of match, and I'm on board with it, man.
And it's funny because, like, you look back throughout the last, like I said, 6 or 8 weeks, and every main event match is different, but they're all main event matches. There's no, the show's ending with fluff. There's no, like, oh, that was like a fart in church, it's fucking horrible. There's none of that anymore, right? Every single time you're watching Impact Wrestling, that last match or that last segment or the last thing you see every single week is going to be fire. Like, and they just keep delivering.
And everybody's liking it. There's nobody online that's watching the show saying they don't like it. And that sounds like a stretch, but people that were well-known haters and bashers and discreditors and naysayers are now jumping on the bandwagon, and it's about time. The company deserves it. The roster deserves it. Just the Callis and D'Amore era is coming to fruition, and things are on the up.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you see, it's pretty obvious why, in my opinion, but yeah, and this match is a testament to that.
So Phoenix connects with the top rope, double foot stomp on Jake on the apron. Then Pentagon and Phoenix take out Dave with another foot stomp into the Fear Factor pile driver. Phoenix eliminates the threat of Jake Christ and Sami Callihan on the outside, allowing Pentagon to pin Dave for the win. So, great match. One of those, just like I said, I saying it till I'm blue in the face, bro. Just wrestling amped up on a whole nother level. OVE fantastic, Lucha Brothers fantastic. But then backstage, that's not it, folks. We end the show with possibly a murder? ? Killer Kross standing over a laid out Anthony Carelli. What does this mean? What does this mean, Taxman? What's going on?
See, and like 2 seconds ago when I said every week there's always something at the end of the show that's a talking point, bingo, right? Like, now it's like, is he fucking dead? Like, I'm pretty sure he's dead, right? And just this Killer Kross character is just like, my God, I love what they're doing with him.
Is he dead?
Like,
were my prayers answered at the beginning of the show when I was bitching about Anthony Carelli? Did they listen to us again and carry through? Did they kill him off? Is he dead?
It's very possible. Anything's possible in wrestling, but it's very possible that we witnessed the remnants of a murder scene. And I love the like throwback too with the X card is back. Right? Like
Killer Kross,
just,
man.
Just drawing you back to when he was debuting, right? And he's taking guys out. Well, now he's in the company for sure, and he's still doing whatever he wants. It's so good.
He's Killer Kross for a reason. Apparently, he's killing people.
Well, I'm sure. I don't know. We should hop on Twitter and see if there's been any tweets from Anthony since then. Maybe he is dead.
He could be dead, but next week the World Championship is on the line as Austin Aries defends against Eddie Edwards, and so much more from Impact Wrestling. That was a great episode. Hey, dude, thanks for doing this last minute out of nowhere. Yeah,
I very much appreciate it. Luckily, the stars and the rest of the Milky Way galaxy fell into place for me to be able to do this tonight. So, when I had the invite, I was obviously all in, as the kids say.
Yeah, hashtag all in. Get your Bullet Club shirt on.
Well, everybody else is
dorks.
using it now, apparently. So
yeah. Well, that was a fun show, folks. Great episode. Can't wait to see next week how all of this unfolds. Impact is on fire, firing from all cylinders. You want to plug any of your shit before you get out of here, Taxman? Get some of your stuff in, where they can follow you, some of your projects.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at 6_podcast. You can use that wonderful YouTube machine, youtube.com/C/6sided podcast. To find all of my past episodes where I've never made a mistake ever in the entirety of this program, calling a match wrong or calling somebody by the wrong name, etc., etc. And in less than 2 weeks' time, also, you can check in live, as the kids say, for the debut of TNA Impact in Reverse. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to that project as well.
Total Nonstop Impact. Impact Talk for Impact fans. Thank you for hanging out, everybody. We close out with the Don Callis quote of the week, but this week, Josh stole it. It's the Josh Matthews quote of the week. Sorry, JB. We're out of here.
Hey, someone better get a doctor for Bobo. He looked like he was going to have a stroke. I'll say this, JB's aged horribly.